An internal government memo in Canada warned of COVID-19 vaccine injuries and deaths, and their concerns that this could lead to potential trust in the vaccine. So what do you suppose their solution was to this potential problem? Well, if you guessed obfuscation and hiding information from the public, then pour yourself a drink, because you, my friends, are a winner. That is going to be the subject of today's episode. And so from Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and our episode is starting right now. So, news media in Canada are continuing to dredge up more dirt on potential government actions that show that officials were less concerned with public safety than they were with ensuring that their citizens follow their mandated vaccination scheme. This latest outrage and scandal from the Canadian government has revealed that a secret Privy Council Office memorandum, which was issued just 5 months into 2021, which, by the way, is just a few months after their Department of Health had granted their first license for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. The revelation here shows us just how much the Canadian government sought to use communication schemes to distort any perception that the COVID-19 vaccines could be anything but highly safe and effective. I'll give you an example. On potential risks of the COVID-19 vaccines, which were clearly known by May 2021, as revealed in this Privy Council Office memo, the memo's government authors sought to ensure that local governments, health agencies, and providers would convey that numerous factors could be associated with particular injuries, not necessarily the vaccines, which is something we have seen time and time again these past number of years anytime potential vaccine injury stories are discussed by anyone from health agencies to the government on down. Now, the memo voiced concern about all of this, saying, quote, "Adverse effects following immunization news reports and the government's response to them have the potential to shake public confidence in the COVID-19 vaccination rollout." The memo also suggested that statistics should be skewed to minimize the impact of vaccination deaths or injuries. The memo suggests saying things like, "Chance of it happening to me is 1 in a million, rather than it has happened 5 times. The memo went on to suggest that, quote, "different framings of the exact same risk can drastically affect a person's decision and perception of risk." Now, as the Western Standard reported, they said that other examples of positive depictions of injury or death included the following. That they should say, quote, "there are many other factors that need to be investigated. The chance of a Canadian being injured in a car accident was higher than a vaccine injury. And as tragic as they are, such health events occur every day, whether or not people are vaccinated." Now, this appears to be an absolutely unacceptable strategy to distort and obfuscate the risks, even if they are deemed rare by most major health organizations like the WHO or the World Health Organization, who acknowledge the potential side effects of the vaccine, but will insist to the public that the benefits of vaccination far outweigh the risks. Now, this represents a true scandal in the making. You see, the manipulation came from the highest levels of the Canadian government at the Privy Council Office, which supports the Prime Minister and Cabinet. This office is led by the clerk of the Privy Council, and the department helps the government in implementing its visions, goals, and decisions in a timely manner. Now, the memo was made public via access to information. And the story was picked up by the Western Standard, which has been at the forefront of covering aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic that other media in the nation haven't dared to touch. Now, the memo was originally exposed from an Ottawa-based internet news publication tracking Canadian government affairs. They're called Blacklock's Reporter. Prior to this revelation of the memo, they had already been reporting on the stealthy Canadian government compensation program that purportedly has paid out some millions of dollars worth of COVID-19 vaccine injury claims. So back to the memo. It highlighted a need for dealing with the topic of COVID-19 vaccine injuries very carefully via, quote, "winning communication strategies." Here's what they said. There is a delicate balance between ensuring the safety of the vaccine and promoting public awareness while also ensuring public confidence in the safety of the vaccine. Government messaging following an adverse event will be important to address this balance. So let's take a step back here and look at the public recorded events. So as reported by the Western Standard, the Public Health Agency, or the PHA, of Canada has reported 97.6 million vaccine doses that have been administered in that country. Among these doses, there have been a number of reported cases of serious adverse events. So let's take a look at the breakdown here. Among these events, there is challenged breathing, heart attacks, kidney damage, spontaneous abortions or miscarriages, facial paralysis, strokes, deaths, blood clots, and heart inflammation. Now, the Public Health Agency comment declared that of the 427 deaths reported, it was not possible to assess causality for 112 reports due to missing information. End quote. But meanwhile, a separate $75 million vaccine injury support program has received 1,299 claims for compensation for vaccine-related deaths and injuries. And as of time of filming for this episode, there was a total of 50 claims that have already been paid out to the tune of $2.7 million. Now, the memo titled Testing Behaviorally Informed Messaging in Response to Severe Adverse Events Following Immunization noted that, quote, events related to a COVID-19 vaccine may be minor or severe, and that news reports of adverse events following immunization and the government's response to them have strong potential to influence public confidence in vaccines and their safety. They go on to say that the current study proactively tested the impact of various messaging strategies delivered through different messengers in response to a hypothetical adverse effect following immunization. Its intent was to help prepare the government for response to potential adverse events following immunization, to identify winning communication strategies to maximize public confidence in the government's COVID regulatory regime and maximize public confidence in the safety of the COVID vaccine and further drive vaccination intentions. Now, Trial Site News founder Daniel O'Connor spoke out about this latest revelation, saying the following. He said, "This is a really bad look that the government health agencies are suppressing material information that vaccine injuries are not only possible, but even probable, and that any form of informed consent and standard consumer disclosure would be covered up. A very bad look." But I'm going to take it a step further here. To me, it's not just a bad look, but it borders on insidious. It's one thing to try and get ahead of potential issues and argue for the merits of the drug that you are promoting, but it is an entirely another matter to obfuscate and hide information from the public, particularly when it comes to informed consent and the well-being and healthcare of people. Nothing is more personal than your health. You only get one life to lead. This deserves serious blowback and consequences for those responsible for this action. But of course, that doesn't seem to be the way of the world these days for parties in power. Now, Daniel O'Connor went on to opine about all of this, saying that when we are dealing with powerful medicinal products, especially if they are novel on new platforms, we absolutely must have comprehensive informed consent. Unfortunately, we believe that this particular Canadian memo is just the tip of the iceberg of government culpability in an unacceptable series of actions associated with COVID-19. Now, naturally, there will most likely be a lot more to the story as time moves on, and when new information does become available, rest assured we'll report about it here. And that, my friends, will bring our episode to a close once more. As always, thank you so much for joining me on the program today. From Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and I will see you all next time.